Crawford Austin Properties, thank you so much. And Socorro Family Ford, thank you so much. I'm getting feedback, by the way, that some of those ads we run in between breaks are awesome. And Mike Hamilton's voice is amazing, but we should use somebody else's voice just to mix it up. Like still keep Mike's voice.
Wait, the feedback is awesome, but you want to change it up?
No, I mean, people like Mike's voice. Seriously.
Yeah,
they think he does a great job, but it's too much Mike. Like, and here's why. It almost feels like it's the same ad the whole time, and so people are having trouble distinguishing. And some of those impact ads are good for business around here. And, a lot of people end up hearing them. I don't know how many people that listen to my show are going to run out and buy vapes, but I can bet that most, if not all the people that listen to Cam's show are going to do that. So there's that, except for Cam's dad, Bill.
What are you saying about Cam or about Boston?
I just think Cam's got a heavy vaping crowd. I feel like I was in a recovery house for a while, right? I feel like guys in the recovery house, like vaping, like listening to Cam, because Cam's got his ear to the streets. So like there's a house full of sober young men who are beyond rough around the edges. And they're listening to Cam, sucking on a vape, and maybe only one of them has access to a phone, which is a shame because then we could get Cam's views up. If we could get a bunch of different guys, that's a theory about Cam's show because it does so well that there's just one person with like a lot of people.
Can we trim this and clip it and put it on Cam's show?
Possibly.
This is ridiculous.
Oh, by the way, so Cam yesterday. There's a huge game coming up this weekend on Sunday. Baylor and TCU, the regular season women's basketball championship. And that game is going to be played at Foster. It's at 5:30. If you can go, I recommend. That's a game where you can probably get tickets for an affordable price. You will see a great basketball game, and you are going to see a high-stakes basketball game. This is for all the marbles in the regular season. King McClure and I did that show Inside the 12, which will air tonight in Big 12 markets all over the country, and you get it on the Big 12 YouTube page. And we break down men's basketball big time, but we also get into women's basketball big time in the Big 12. And the Big 12 actually sent us the trophy yesterday, so we had it on the desk there, and it's in town. So and it's a beautiful trophy. I said. King said, man, this is the closest I've been to a Big 12 title trophy. I guess so that confirms, I guess Baylor didn't win one when he was there. But it's an exciting game, and Cam, in typical shock jock fashion, on Locked On Baylor, was talking about, and I want to see what you think about this, Scotty. I want a true or false, okay? Is this the biggest Baylor women's basketball game since the 2019 national championship?
True.
Yeah. Okay, tell me why.
Name a bigger one.
They played in the Sweet 16 last year. They lost to USC. Like, you're telling me that game against Juju Watkins wasn't a bigger game than this?
I see what you're saying, but I also see what Cam is saying. And mind you, Pete, Cam and I went to Baylor, so we freaking hate TCU. We hate them. Yeah. So anytime you add TCU to the mix, it elevates it for me. It elevates it, I think, for a lot of Baylor alum.
Yeah.
I think this year is more than ever been a prove-it year for Nicki Collin. I think this past offseason, especially now that Kim's won a natty at LSU, there was more and more kind of, I don't know about Nicki. And you and I have said all season, like, Nicki Collin's great. Like,
love her.
We are both pro Nicki Collin at Baylor. But there's a lot of Baylor people who are like, I don't know, Nicki Collin can't get it done. And she's just been on this heater. And so I think I would agree with Cam.
They've won 9 straight.
Yeah.
And they just beat Kansas State.
They're arguably the hottest women's team in the country right now. They're hot. And so I think to continue that at home, I think that's the other thing that maybe elevates this above maybe just a tourney game is like, can you pack out your building and get Waco excited? Because Pete, I think one thing a lot of Baylor fans want is when Kim was here, Waco filled Farrell Center for the Kim Mulkey Baylor Bears. Like they did. Like Waco would show out.
Would that building sell out?
Yes.
It would.
Not for every game by any means, but for big matchups like this one, Yes. For women's games. Yes. They would get 10,000 people in there.
Yeah.
So, I think for Nicki.
See, I caught like the tail end of that when I moved here. Kim had like 2 more years, and it was happening. Like I think they played UConn here, and I think there were big games where that place was sold out.
Yes, it happened. It happened, and it would happen about twice a year for the men too, and depending on this team and the season, and all this. This men's team wouldn't sell out the Farrell Center, but that's an aside. All that to say, I think for Nicki, this could be a statement win at home. It does get you a championship. It continues,
but it doesn't mean anything if you don't win in the NCAA tournament.
I think. Well, I see what you're saying, but I think I could argue that this win is the momentum they need going into postseason. Anyway, Cam's a shock jock, but I kind of agree with him.
Cam, he's a shock jock because he has to be, because he's from the Drake Toll family, and I understand
and he's getting clicks, and
he's getting clicks, and they're both amazing at that. Look, Drake is I will die on that hill. It's one of my all-time favorites, and the guy is amazing at delivering content and stirring up controversy and getting people invested. He does a great job. Cam's point was to get back to the matter at hand, which is why it's a great topic, because we both disagree. He said, or I disagree with Cam, you agree. He said that there's the most hype around this game since like the hype around this game is more so than any other game that Baylor's played women's basketball since 2019. And I think that's a really good point. I will tell him that's a great point, because like you said, you've got TCU involved. Also, you've got stars involved. Like when you go over, let's take a trip over to TCU and what they have going. I mean, they've got Haley Van Leith, and they have Sedona Prince. Are you familiar with what's going on with Sedona Prince off the floor at all?
No.
So she's got, talk about an interesting world we're in now. She is, and I went down the rabbit hole. Like, this is stuff I could never talk about on a broadcast, a women's broadcast, or doing stuff for the Big 12. But it's out there and it's all over social media. She was, she's had real issues in personal relationships with women, like partners of hers. And this one girl who's in her 20s, they took a trip to Mexico. And this girl's like kind of like an influencer. And they were together for a while. Like Sedona Prince took this girl to the ESPYs with her. They were out in public a lot. And Sedona Prince is like, if you don't know who she is, like she's a women's basketball superstar.
She's very good. Yeah.
One of the best players in the country, 6'7", can do it all. Amazing passer, amazing scorer. And by all accounts, like everybody, good woman, but then there's some stuff going on there. And and then there's another woman that came out that said that there was some kind of like verbal abuse or like a toxic relationship type deal. And they're going vocal on social media. So the one girl who's kind of like a TikTok influencer did a series of videos about their trip to Mexico. I mean, it basically would be like if I had a girlfriend in college when I was drinking and partying, like, thank God they didn't have TikToks. They'd be like, oh my God, worst weekend ever with this guy. And they would go through like, they go through like the series of events. But that's kind of what happened with Sedona Prince. And this girl chronicled like, in 4 different like episodes on TikTok, how bad of a girlfriend Sedona Prince was. And in reality, there's serious stuff. Like there's some abuse there, but like really none of it seemed physical, but verbal. It's all bad stuff. But she wasn't the first woman to do this. So a lot of people went public with Sedona Prince should not be playing basketball now. What? There was a huge, what do you call those things when people a petition, and it was signed by like over 10,000 people. Like people from TCU said she shouldn't play. And that was like during the offseason. Sedona Prince actually addressed it.
Yeah, I missed all of it.
She made an apology, but people said the apology was BS. So that kind of died down. But then another woman came forward like last week, but she's still playing. Like someone from the team said, her position and her status with this team has not been affected by the stuff off the court. But there's like drama.
There's extra drama in this game.
Oh, dude, there's a lot of drama. Yeah.
Hey, I just want to throw up, apparently while I was talking, our friend Brian, Bear the Truth, I think agrees with me, said yes, then said this could be the start of a big-time run under Nicki. We will look back 2 years from now and say it all started this weekend. That's what I'm talking about.
But what you say?
What I'm talking about,
guys. I understand the rivalry with TCU and the excitement around this game because it's the next game. But I think we're being prisoners of the moment. Last year, they had a chance to punch a ticket to the Elite Eight and possibly the Final Four. So, like,
yeah, but what if a Final Four run starts right now? Like,
you could look back. Hindsight would be 2020.
Let's keep the Oh, absolutely. But I think my larger point. I think Cam's right about the hype meter. I think my larger point is simply for the city of Waco.
Yeah,
this could be the game at home that brings back memories of selling out the Farrell for Kim.
Yeah,
and if the Lady Bears come out and win by double digits or even win a close one, and Nicki does an outstanding job, like, this could win her. I think some of the people, there are still Lady Bear basketball fans that are pissed off that Kim left.
Yeah.
They're out here. Like, I don't think they're right, but they're here.
They're pissed.
And so this could win some of them back. And I think that is huge for her, for Baylor, because I want Nicki Collin here for a long time. Like, I think she's great.
I thought I was frustrated with, first of all, could you imagine? And I was hoping this would have happened in years past. They haven't done it yet. Could you imagine a second round matchup with LSU? I guess you probably wouldn't because of the seeding. So it would have to be. It really would.
There was that potential one year, and then it didn't happen.
It would have to be probably a regional final because I would imagine they'll both be.
I would try to go.
Oh my God, it will be so. There will be so much great hype around that.
I would try to go.
And remember a couple years ago when LSU went to the Final Four and won the championship again, which was ridiculous, which is like, hey, Kim Mulkey, like, you are amazing. There's no question.
Second best of all time.
Yeah. Who's first?
Gino,
what about Pat Summitt?
I think Kim surpassed her.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm a little biased because she was a 3-time champion, but
when Nicki went to the Final Four, when Kim went to the Final Four, now it was in Dallas, but they have billboards in Waco about LSU going.
I remember.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That was like.
Because I'm telling you, Pete, there are pissed off Baylor fans who root for her at LSU. It's kind of like me. It's kind of like me rooting for Luka with the Lakers.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. There are people who feel like Mac Rowe just totally betrayed them and their fandom and the university by letting Kim walk. And we know that was a two-way street.
Let me be the first to tell you.
Two-way street.
And I am like one of those people. I read all the coaches' biographies, whether it's Bobby Knight, Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick. They're all crazy. I love them all. They're crazy like my family members are crazy. Like my family thinks I'm crazy. Like they're not bad crazy, but they're crazy. And Kim falls into that category with like a Bobby Knight, like where it's like this person has become an untenable pain in the ass.
Yes.
And now it's becoming toxic.
Yes.
And so when Baylor got the opportunity to move on, they did it, and they did the right thing.
And they did it by not necessarily by like letting her go, but by letting her go pursue another opportunity that made a lot of sense for her.
Yeah. And she would have, and then also she was jilted because they were like, okay, like she came to Baylor with, hey, here's what they were going to give me. Like,
okay, cool.
Is this the end of the conversation?
Yeah. She had some additional demands that Baylor was not going to meet.
No, they weren't. And that's what I know. The court was one of them, right?
I have heard court. I have heard building. I have heard statue. Now I've heard all kind of things.
And the problem with that is
I think I told you I did a special spring edition of Please Bear With Me to share all the rumors I'd heard as this was happening. Yeah, I need to go back and listen to that.
You do, because it was interesting, and I didn't have like an outlet like this to kind of get it out, and honestly, I didn't feel comfortable doing it. But now it's really like common knowledge. Like
water under the bridge.
Yeah, you were on the ground floor probably with a ton of great info, because there was a lot of really interesting info. Yep. I mean, people that didn't know any better would watch, you'd watch Sports Center and you'd come away from the report and say, wow, I can't believe Baylor let Nicki Collin go.
Kim
right? Kim Mulkey go, right? Like Baylor didn't do what they needed to do to keep her, right? Or she just decided to leave. Like nobody really got, because when you talk about women's basketball like that, people really aren't drilling down, right? Like if that's a different story, maybe in the NBA or even in the NCAA, because Kim Mulkey is about as high profile as you'll get in women's basketball, but there's a smaller circle.
Big time.
Yeah, so there was a lot about, and the more I learned, you talk to people who are close to what was going on there, I mean, I'm sorry if you poll the room, 9 out of 10 people are going to say like Baylor did the right thing.
Anybody close to situations like Mac did what he had to do.
He did what he had to do.
And anybody who doesn't say that wasn't close to the situation.
No.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like, are you going to? It was becoming a situation, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, where it's like, are we going to blow up the athletic department around this one sport almost? You know what I mean? There was so much negativity coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, one of the things I heard, I remember this distinctly, is she wanted nicer facilities than the men. And she felt upstaged when Scott won his championship.
Yeah.
I think that created some resentment. You're not the only championship winning coach in the building anymore.
Yeah.
And there were some discussions of like Baylor celebrated the men more than the women, and that might be true to some small extent. I don't think it's major true because we celebrated the women very well when they would win their championships. But one of the things I heard was Kim wanted nicer facilities at the new place, nicer locker room, nicer offices. And the response was, hey, we're going to give you the exact same. And that's better than most athletic departments in the country.
Yeah.
Because most women's basketball teams do not have the same level of facilities as the men's teams. But here in Waco, because she did bring 3 championships here, and in a lot of ways, she was the architect to a resurrection of the whole athletic department. Like she gets major credit for all of Baylor's
and that's
success.
Something that's overlooked.
It is. I mean, she won her first championship just 3-4 years after the men's basketball team almost got the death penalty. I mean, it was dramatic. But Mac's, I think, response to her and Baylor's response to her was, we will give you the exact same as the men.
Yeah.
And that's pretty great.
Yeah.
Because what we're about to give the men is awesome.
Yeah.
And I think she was like, no, I've won 3. I'm better. I mean, I don't know how she approached the summer, but that's the perception I got.
But then she goes and wins a title like 2 years later with LSU. Like that was amazing.
But I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
None of us are surprised. Like anyone who's surprised Kim Mulkey could move to another program, another high profile program, not a LSU had been in Final Fours, right? Yeah. And win a title, you're not paying. You don't know you don't know basketball. Like she is one of the best coaches ever in the game. Of course, she's going to win.
One of the better players of her era.
Yes. I mean, I think still to this day, right? Only what's the stat? She's the only woman to win a championship as a player, as an assistant coach, and as a head coach.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So she won with the Barrymore guy at Louisiana Tech, right?
Correct. And she won as a player.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
A player and an assistant there.
And
then a head coach.
Yeah. Yeah. No, look, Kim Mulkey, amazing. And you know what I was thinking yesterday too? Mosley needs to write a book on her. Like, dude, I think if Mosley now here's the thing, it probably would be like an unauthorized thing because Kim would probably be like a Pete Rose, whereas you could get her on the record for a while. And then she would figure out like, wait a minute, I don't think I like what's going on with this book. And then she'd back off and be like, you know what?
Any honest depiction of Kim is going to have really high highs.
Yeah.
And you're going to like tell the truth about she's difficult.
Yeah.
She's difficult. And I've said this, Pete, on my show. I don't remember if I've said it on your show before. Here's the thing about Kim. If you are on Kim's team, she is a delight.
Oh,
like
could play for
one of my good friends who does Please Bear With Me was on the dream team. Like the boy, if you don't know that, boys
that played against the girls,
practice against the girls in practice to give them an edge. They've been doing that forever at Baylor. And he says she is the kindest, like
shirt off her back for these
most
girls.
Considerate. Yes, like when you are in her camp, she is like the mama bear. Like, not to be too on the nose with the analogy, but the mama bear that you want.
Yeah.
But the moment you're not on her team, she's pretty ruthless. By the way, that's what makes her a great basketball player.
That's it. I mean, that's what makes her and you got to remember, and that goes back to where we started. All these crazy coaches and with all their behavior, and sometimes they act like toddlers, and they want the facilities better than the men. The women's coach does. You think, well, that's kind of nutty. Because, how was the bread buttered at the school and all that? No, that's what she wants. That's kind of nutty, but that's what makes her great.
And Baylor fans are spoiled, right?
Yeah.
Grant Taff and Scott Drew are enigmas.
Like how great of men they are and how low-key they are?
Like the Christian man who doesn't cuss at practice guy.
Yeah.
Like I'm not making fun of them for that. Scott Drew is a legend. But like that is an enigma. That is not. They are the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah.
That most coaches who win are not like.
If
that.
you'll appreciate this when you're at Baylor practice or Kansas State practice, and you'll be talking to somebody else, and then you'll look over, and there'll be a young man, a player on either team, doing push-ups. You know they just swore. Because when you swear, and then that's what they do. If you swear, you do push-ups, dude. And I've seen Jerome Tang doing push-ups because if he swears, then he's got to do them. You know,
I did not know that.
Yeah,
piece of it. That's funny. I had a really interesting conversation with Blake Blackmar a few years ago. When Sean Bell was the offensive line coach at Baylor, he does the same thing. Bell won't cuss at practice, and he said. I'll just be honest, Scotty, when you're 6'4", 6'5", and you got this little 5'11" man coming at you, and he's going, you got to hold your freaking block.
Yeah.
Gosh, dang it. Come on. He's like, it's just kind of funny. He's like, we just laughed at him sometimes. Like,
gosh, dang it. Yeah.
Gosh, dang it. Hold your freaking block.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's kind of how Scott Drew is. You know?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Good talk.
All right. Well, one last thing about this, and I'll just say this before we're going to take a break. You have got to give Mack Rhodes the gold star. I just think you do. I'm sure he didn't have a crystal ball that said Nicki Collin was going to do this well, but she has done this well. And Mack we trust. I agree, dude. I mean, there was a time, by the way, after Baylor won their national championship where Mack would show up at games dressed like a pimp. It was like a year where I was like,
I remember that.
He's sitting center. I was like, wow, what's he wearing? And it's almost as though someone talked to him or something happened where he was like, you know what? Maybe it was COVID. No, because this was after COVID. But he was like, you know what? I'm just going to wear the green Baylor warm-up everywhere I go. And it's just, I don't know what it is for me. It's so much more likable and makes him like personify like humility because that's really who he is. And he's an amazing athletic director. The guy is amazing. And he's done a really good job of, you know, whether it's bunker mentality with a couple of your mentors, you know, and you're sharing with people who keep you on the path towards the right direction. Like he does not make decisions based on the outcry of the public or alumni. And he's done a hell of a job, man. And I always go back to when you hear Kelvin Sampson talk about why Houston is so good. He will, if he goes deep on it, he'll talk about Mack Rhodes, who gave Kelvin the job at Houston. And you see Houston is probably the best basketball program, one of, in the nation right now. And Baylor's got a lot cooking too. So Mack Rhodes had a huge hand in all that. All right, well, we got sidetracked, but we got more coming up. We're going to talk a little bit more about some amazing women in sports, why the Lakers, they continue every year to be competitive. We'll talk about the woman behind that and also the mystery around Gene Hackman and his death and the legendary actor passing away, I guess, a few days ago. And last thing is, hashtag Mosley on Mulkey. That doesn't have to be the title, but let's get it going, dude. Hey, that's a money train, Mose. That is a money train for you. Let's go. Kim will sit down. She'll talk to you for the first probably 50% of the book when she realizes that you're going to be a journalist and you're going to be Matt Mosley and you might have to take it in uncomfortable directions. She'll pull the plug on you. She'll stop talking to you, but that'll actually help book sales because we'll get that story out. And I want to cut somehow, some way. Back after this.
Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internix. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internix.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INT